Hi, this video is an overview of our TW Honors Alps 2016 itinerary for all of those who are joining us this January, the 2016 Travel Abroad multi-country tour. It's going to give you an overview in this video. There'll be a couple of other videos that we would like for you to take a look at, particularly with regard to safety and packing and customs and money and those kinds of things. This is the quick one that gives you an overview of where we're going and what we're doing. On day one, we're going to fly from DFW. We leave from DFW Airport to Austria. You'll need to get your own transportation to DFW. Remember to take a few minutes to stretch every 3 hours or so while we're on the flight. We're not going to actually get the flight information, say the times and the air carriers and the connections, until probably around Thanksgiving, maybe a little bit later than that, but usually around Thanksgiving we know what our flights are. But for now, we're set to go on the day that we've got planned, and we'll get the hours and dates and flights to you and carriers to you at that time. We take our overnight flight to Austria. We may connect, probably will connect somewhere, maybe Frankfurt, maybe somewhere in New York or someplace like that, because it's a pretty long flight. Don't know which air carrier, as I said, and when we get that information, we'll send it out to everybody via email, and we'll post it on Facebook and our Facebook group and on Blackboard and everything. So there'll be 3 ways for you to get the information. If you are not a TW student and you're viewing this instructional video, then you'll want to make sure that whichever student you are traveling with as a guest, you are in touch with that person very closely, because as you often know, if you've traveled by air in the United States here in the last decade or so, flight numbers change, flight times change, and certainly gates change. So we're going to post it as soon as we know it, but it's the responsibility of everybody traveling with us to stay up to date, check in through the various online sources that we're providing, and certainly check in with the student that you're traveling with if that's what you're doing. These are long flights, and sometimes there's a lot of layover time, but it is an overnight flight. That means that we'll leave in the daytime here in DFW, and we'll get to Austria the next morning. Big piece of recommendation there is always to get up, stretch around a little bit too during the flight. Walk up and down the aisles when it's safe to do so. When the captain tells you you can get up and go walk around, it's a good idea to do that. I like to just sort of catnap a little bit, maybe an hour here and then go and stretch a little bit, an hour there, maybe more if I can. But it's kind of hard to sleep on a plane, I know, but it's a good idea to get up and move around, because sometimes you can have some circulation problems, and they can be somewhat serious if you're not careful. You want to try to sleep on the plane all you can. Once the plane lands, we're going to hit the ground running the next day, and we're not going to stop until the evening of the second day, okay? Now, that's to get you acclimated to the local time. I'm a big believer. You can take a few cat naps on the flight over. That's good. It's a good idea. But once we get there, we're not going to nap during the daytime. We're going to get there sometime probably in the morning, and we're going to keep on going all day that first day. Even though we're a little bit on the tired side, we'll go and have dinner, and then we'll call it an early evening probably, and then you'll sleep good night's sleep, I hope, and then the next morning, hopefully your clock will be much better adjusted. Usually that's the case. If you try to sleep during the day, your first day in Europe, it's really a bad idea. Your clock never gets adjusted. On day 2, we're going to arrive in Vienna, okay? We're going to be taking the walking tour of Vienna. That's that first day that we're there. Day 1 is our flight over. Day 2 is arriving in Vienna. We're going to do a walking tour of Vienna. We're going to see the beautiful opera house there. It's beautiful. Kartnerstrasse is the shopping district. It's a lot of fun. It's really safe, very bright, cheerful. Sometimes you have a few street performers in the wintertime, but some really cool, neat places to go. One thing that you might want to do is to check out while you're there is maybe enjoy a Wiener Schnitzel dinner, but also the famous Tort place is there. So they're very famous for some of their desserts, and so you can go check that out as well while we're in Vienna. A lot of things, a pretty place to see some things and go explore around during that daytime. Day 3 will also be in Vienna, and we're going to be taking a look at the Ringstrasse, a little city tour there. the Parliament building, which is a beautiful building, and the Rathaus, which is like the city hall kind of thing. So we'll get our chance to see our fair share of architecture and historic places. But one of the highlights will be, I don't know if it's going to be in the morning or the afternoon, is to go to see the Schönbrunn Palace. Now, this palace is not as big as Versailles, but it certainly is majestic, and it should be, by the time we get there, finished with all the rehab, I hope. I think it is. They were rehabbing it the last time we were there, and we could only see a little bit of it, but it is a gorgeous palace with gorgeous grounds and things. It's where the Habsburgs were. The Austro-Hungarian Empire was run out of Vienna, obviously, and the Habsburg dynasty was located in the Schönbrunn Palace. There are about 4 or 5 great palaces in Europe, and this is certainly right up there with the Buckingham Palace, and then the palace there in Madrid in Spain, and Palacio Real, and certainly Versailles. But Schönbrunn's not as big as Versailles, but it's gorgeous. That's it in the lower left-hand corner there. It's a beautiful building. Then we'll make our way on day 4 to Salzburg, and then eventually, by that evening, to Munich. And Salzburg, beautiful place where Mozart was. We're going to take a look at Mozart's birthplace, in fact, and look through the old town of Salzburg. And if we're able to do it, we're going to go into the salt mines. Now, we've got a big group, and we don't know how many people want to do it. Get you some more information on that later. It is an extra cost if you choose to do it, but you have an opportunity to go down, deep down into the ground, into the salt mines, which are actually really, really cool. I mean, I have never done it, but I've heard, and acoustically they're supposed to be really a neat experience. So there'll be some information posted up on Facebook and on the Blackboard site. If you haven't seen it already, it should already be up there about what it would entail. You don't sign up for it with EF. You don't go and add that to your account. That's something that we're just going to do as our own group and not go through the company because it's cheaper and easier to do. Okay, so we're going to try that out and see if that can work for us logistically, and then that day later on we go on to Munich, one of my favorite towns certainly in Germany. Munich is a really, really cool town. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of things related to World War II, etc. We're going to see the Olympic Stadium, where Jesse Owens beat the pants off the Nazis, which is cool. We'll go to Marienplatz, which is the beautiful plaza downtown area. I think that you can see it right there on the right. And we'll see the Glockenspiel and all those kinds of things. We'll also get a chance to see the Residence, which was kind of a prince's palace, and it's a huge museum now. It's enormous. You can't see it all, but there might be time to duck in and see if you do a little homework in advance and find out what's there. Maybe there's a really cool collection if you can get straight to it, take a look at it and get out. Otherwise, it takes about 3 days to see it all. So, but if you kind of decide I want to go see something in there, if you've got a big thing for either antique furnishings or historical sorts of things, artwork, then certainly that's the best thing to do is kind of dash in, see your favorite section, and go. Later that afternoon, we're going to go to Dachau. Now, the students in Dr. Busel and Dr. Brown's class will be required to go to Dachau as part of their assignment. Dachau is a very difficult place to go and visit. I think it's an important place to see. I think everyone should see it if you can. On the other hand, I don't believe in requiring people to see something that can be very disturbing. It really can be. I urge you to go. It's included in our visit. But if you are of such a nature or temperament that you just say, I really won't want to do that, I'm going to respect that, and we certainly are going to do that. And you can stay back in Munich and have a little free time on your own if you wish, and we'll meet back up with you. We'll do a little walking tour of Munich to get you oriented and everything, and that's what we'll do there. There are some really fun, kind of cheesy Oompa beer halls. Certainly the Hofbräuhaus is there, and it's rather touristy, but if you've never been, and certainly if you're over 21 and you'd like to go and sit next to a guy with lederhosen, and that's certainly your choice. You can do that. But it is kind of fun if you've never done it. Day 6, we're going to go to Neuschwanstein. This is a castle built way up on the hill. There it is. And it was an inspiration, obviously, for Disney's Cinderella Castle. It was built by Mad King Ludwig. It's a hike. I'm not going to kid you. We're going to take buses all the way to the foot of the mountain, but it's a pretty good walk up there, unless they've decided to put in segways, which I don't think they have. It's a pretty steep climb, but it is a really neat experience. It is a beautiful experience with some fantastic views out the windows, so you'll have a chance to go and see that. And we'll really be in Alps country at that point. We'll travel to Tyrol, and that's a beautiful alpine city as well. So at this point, we're way up in the Alps on day 6. On day 7, we're going to go and see the tiny town of Liechtenstein. Don't blink, or you'll miss it. No, we'll make a stop. And just so you can say you've been to Liechtenstein, it's a tiny, tiny little place, and we're going to be pushing on to Switzerland, which is our main city destination there. Is Lucerne. You can't go to Switzerland without getting some chocolate. Probably in Lucerne, the chocolate's about the only thing that most of us can afford. I mean, you will be stunned by the incredibly expensive motor vehicles and the well-dressed people if we're there on a good day. It is a very, very posh, very wealthy city, and got to be terribly expensive to live there. So, I mean, if you really are in the market for a $20,000 watch, go right ahead. Knock yourself out. But me, I'll be nibbling on a little bit of the less expensive chocolate. But it is a cool place. It is a really neat place. Beautiful place. Very clean, very tidy, very interesting little town. Totally untouched, obviously, by World War II because Switzerland was neutral, and so the architecture is still there and in wonderful shape. So it's kind of a neat thing. And of course, the lake there is gorgeous as well. We'll drive by that as well. On day 8, we'll continue on in Lucerne, and we'll tour the city itself. The Kapellbrücke, the Chapel Bridge, that is a medieval bridge. You see it there at the bottom. It's a medieval bridge that is kind of a really neat feature. It burned partly, but it was beautifully restored, very historically accurately restored. Neat feature. And then we'll also have a chance to see the Löwendenkmal, the Lion Monument. This is a monument to Swiss guards who protected King Louis and Marie Antoinette at their palace, but died because the crowds were determined to have both their heads, and but they bravely fought to defend the King and Queen of France during the Revolution, and sadly some of them died. One of the cool things that we'll be able to do now, this you would need to sign up in advance if you haven't already. We're going to go up and see Mount Pilatus if you would like to. It is pricey to go up, but it is really cool. It's the best view from the Alps that you can possibly get. You can spend some time up there. You get a lift ticket to go up there. It's breathtakingly gorgeous, and I think you get a little hot chocolate as well up there, and it's just a cool thing. I think they even give you a souvenir ball cap. I don't know, but if you've never done it, you can balk at the price tag and say, holy cow, that's a lot to get up a mountain, but I think it's like $30 or so. But it is beautiful, and it is gorgeous. And when I've done this tour in the past, it's one of the things that I remember the most, the gorgeous views. It's just stunning. So I highly recommend it. If you do not want to do the Mount Pilatus, that's perfectly okay. You can have some free time down in Lucerne, and that's entirely up to you. My feeling is that it's cheaper to go up the mountain than it is to go shopping in Lucerne, so what the heck. But that's just me. Then we'll push on to our last full day on the tour, and that is going to be spent in Heidelberg. I'm really hoping we get a nice early start that morning, even though people don't like to get up early, because there's a lot to see that day on our last day. We're going to travel to Heidelberg via the Rhine Falls, which is a beautiful waterfall. It's not Niagara Falls. It's not that big of a falls. The Rhine Falls and the Black Forest. And the Black Forest is some of the most beautiful countryside in all of Europe. And we'll stop for lunch there, maybe at a place to look at cuckoo clocks and things like that are kind of Black Foresty. And then we'll push on to Heidelberg. Heidelberg's a gorgeous medieval university town. The university probably won't be in session at that time, but there's this big, we'll go up to Heidelberg Castle, hang out there for a while, and walk around, tour around. There's a giant wine barrel there, which I guess we'll see. It's kind of obligatory. But the most fun is just to kind of hang out and get to know the place a little bit, walk around, explore a bit, and take a look at the architecture and some of the beautiful views, because Heidelberg is a cool thing. So if some of the university's open, I'm up for popping in and saying hello and seeing who we meet, maybe at least going to the university's bookstore or the library if it is, but we'll have to see when we get over there. And then there will be a very, very, very early morning on day 10. We'll get up and have our things hopefully all pre-packed very early when we stay overnight there in Heidelberg on night 9, and we'll have to drive by bus all the way from Heidelberg to Frankfurt, where we will catch our flight home to Dallas. I've done it before. It's doable. I don't recommend staying up the whole night before, but you can if you want to. But we'll go from Frankfurt and catch our flight home to DFW. Again, we're coming back to DFW, and that will I don't know where the connections are, and I don't know which airline carriers we have, obviously, until right around Thanksgiving, as I said, and we'll come on back. Remember that you do need to provide for transportation to and from DFW Airport. We don't have the ability to bring everybody by bus, and then you got to time it and everything. So it's better if you do that. Carpooling is great. It's a great idea. If you want to arrange that in advance, that's wonderful. Nobody likes to leave their car for 10 days at, what is it, $9 or $10 a day. So do work that out, and if you need some help with that, we'll be happy to give you some info on it. Okay, so that's our tour, and please take a look at the other 2 videos that are going to follow this, and you'll get some safety tips and things like that.